one of my favorite sayings is meeting without eating is cheating.
So if I'm choosing a restaurant and, all things being equal, I'll usually go for the one with the better TLD.
Not every host is for everyone, which is why having more out there is important.
They just really just connecting all the dots between all of that, because domains is right at the middle of, at the center of everything.
You can create anything. You can create experiences to where anyone can go and create beautiful sites for projects or apps, all within WordPress.
The first WordPress experience can be the last, so it's your obligation to provide a really great experience. Welcome to Impressive Hosting, a podcast about the role hosting plays in shaping the open web. I'm your host, Jesse Friedman. On this show, we go deeper than uptime and dashboards. We talk about hosting as infrastructure, about ownership, independence, and what it takes to build ethical, high-end WordPress hosting that actually serves creators, businesses, and the internet itself. Before we dive in, head to impressive.host. That's where you can comment on episodes, ask follow-up questions, and help shape future conversations. You'll also find links to follow, like, and subscribe wherever you listen. Today's episode is going to be unique in that we have several guests, and we're doing what we're calling a registrar registry roundtable. And so what we're going to do that's a little bit different than normal is instead of just having a conversational style episode, we're going to bounce around and we're going to ask several of our experts questions across the board because we think domains are incredibly important and a piece of the open web that everyone should be more familiar with. And so we've brought together a group of experts from Automattic who are focused on things from selling domains to partnering with registrars to selling WP Cloud and maintaining it as well. So let's jump in by introducing our first guest. Leanne, you are the head of registry at Automattic. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're located, what you're working on, and just give us the lowdown.
Sure. Well, hello, and thank you for having me. My name is Leanne Hogben. I'm normally based in Melbourne, in Australia, but coming today from Montreal, here for the team meetup with Ronald and our domains team. We at Automattic have the domain .blog, and I work on .blog, all of the things related to that, marketing and operations blog.
Very cool. What's you've been around the block for a while now. You've been working with partners and seen a lot of different domains and stuff. What's a TLD that makes you smile or raises an eyebrow?
I mean, anytime I encounter a TLD that, one of the newer GTLDs in the wild, that always makes me smile. My phone is full of fun domain sightings, photos of that. I think now when I'm traveling, I often see restaurants that are using city TLDs. I see it at home in Melbourne. A lot of restaurants use .melbourne. And I was just in Tokyo the other week and I saw the same thing there. So if I'm choosing a restaurant and, all things being equal, I'll usually go for the one with the better TLD.
I like that.
Yeah.
A localization. That's nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, Ronald, you're in Canada with Leanne. You're at a conference. You are the head of registrars at Automattic. Tell us what that means.
Great. Thanks, Jesse. Head of registrar. So by the way, my name is Ronald. I've been at Automattic for a number of years, but just over a year sitting on the seat of the head of registrar. I normally live in Cyprus, but yeah, as you mentioned, we are here in Montreal at a team get together and working very hard and making domains a better place, or a better team at Automattic. So head of registrar, it's connecting a lot of dots between operations, ICANN accreditation, business development, and partnerships. So if sometimes my kids ask me, what am I doing? Because all they see me do is just chatting and sending emojis and so on. But it is really just connecting all the dots between all of that, because domains is right at the middle of, at the center of everything. You talk about abuse, you talk about registration, renewals, but it's the front door to everything. And that makes it so exciting.
Nice. you and I share something in that we're often traveling and meeting with partners and taking them out to dinner. What's your go-to when you're looking for a restaurant? What kind of food are you looking for? What's the atmosphere you're looking for when you're taking a partner out to dinner?
I was just talking about that internally, and that's a really difficult question, because I guess it depends a little bit what you want to get out of it. But the reviews of restaurants is crucial. Finding a nice place that allows you to have a good conversation. I don't like loud places because, that intimacy with people that you know. And I must say, in the domains industry, people have been working there for a very long time. I'm a fairly newbie in the industry. Leanne has been there for a very long time, which I really appreciate, because sometimes I have to ask for some references of who's this, who's that. And if somebody's been in the industry for a very long time and they refer to companies by the previous names of what they used to be called. So anyway,
That means
long
they're
story
old.
short, it's an intimate space. Lots of folks have been there for a long time. So yeah, building strong long-term connections is key. And so food, one of my favorite sayings is meeting without eating is cheating. So when it comes to meeting in a restaurant, it's absolutely crucial.
Meeting without eating is cheating. That's awesome. I'll say that as much as I love Italian food, it's not conducive to a good partnership discussion, like shoveling spaghetti in your mouth. So my favorite's always sushi, because it's, I don't know. I think everybody likes sushi, and it's an easy one to eat while having conversations.
If you're competent with chopsticks, because if not, it could be total failure too.
That's true too. Yeah. But nice icebreaker. You can teach someone how to use them.
Yeah.
All right. Elise, you've been on the show before, and you are someone that I have the pleasure of working with all the time. You're the VP of Partnerships and Growth at WP Cloud. Tell us a little about yourself.
Yeah, so I have been with Automattic for a little over a year now, which is very exciting. Probably closer to a little under a year and a half by the time this airs. But, my concentration on the team is to not just try to make sure I'm understanding the market when I'm meeting people and setting up new partnerships, but also try to understand where all of the people that I'm talking to want their companies to go. There's so much going on right now. AI roadmaps are like 6-week sprints typically, so things are changing really quickly. And aside from making sure that, I'm spreading the knowledge of WP Cloud infrastructure, it's also helping people, get to the place that they want their roadmap to be, and also understanding how we can play a part in that. So.
Yeah, that's great. So you're at conferences all the time, and you and I have conversations about swag. What is some of the cooler, funner swag things you've seen lately?
Okay, so I really love trinkets, so I'm very excited about this question. So I have 2 things at my desk, and then I'm going to have to ask you if you have one of our swag items, because it's also a favorite of mine, and I don't have one anymore. So I was at Affiliate Summit West in Vegas, and this is a business card that I got. I don't know if it's going to...
Oh, it looks like a poker chip.
It is, and it's someone's business card. It's Dylan's business card, the CEO of Gravity Ads. So I thought this was a really neat, memorable way to give me a business card. There's actually proper weight to it too, so I thought it was really fun. Second is from Big Scoots. It's like a little, I can squeeze it on my desk, and I think it's like the cutest little squishy toy. So this is my second favorite trinket, but hopefully you have yours. I didn't give you a heads up that I probably want us to take a look at it, but we made iPod Nanos this year for WP Cloud. And by made, I mean that I sourced them, and they all typically have engravings on the back as they're, recycled essentially. And we loaded impressive hosting on it so that I could hand them out to people at our conferences this year. Yeah, it was really fun.
We've been talking about swag and what works well, what we like, and maybe create our own. So that's a good way of showing it.
Yeah.
I think battery packs always very welcome at conferences.
Yeah,
1000%.
It's very cool because it's hard to tell on here, but the iPod comes preloaded with some great impressive hosting episodes. It's also a really nice way for us to introduce people to what WP Cloud has to offer. And it's a retro style thing. We've been playing around with the narrative around that swag item, but I think very much that it kind of sends the message that WP Cloud's focused on the high tech, hard stuff, and you can take a break and relax and listen to some music or some impressive hosting podcast episodes.
Yeah, we've had some great conversations out of it too, Jesse. That's, I think, been the most fun thing is the conversations I've had with people out of handing it to them, like Andrew Palmer. And I know is a friend of yours, Ronald, and I got to get to know him a bit more after talking to him about that. It was fun.
Yeah, something nostalgic, and it definitely opens the conversation and create deeper connections. I also like, I know the .blog team, they do notebooks, but really nice notebooks. And I think that's a nice thing. I know we probably get overwhelmed with notebooks, but when you get a good notebook, that's you keep that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. So if you're ever at a conference and you see Elise, you can give her a little elbow and ask for an iPod, see if she has one on her.
I might have to engineer that one.
Last but absolutely certainly not least, Joshua Goode, a friend and colleague who has been helping all of our partners to find success with WP Cloud. He is our technical solutions engineer, our partner success manager, our, magician, handyman, everything in between. Josh, it's great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me back, Jesse.
So, you're covering a lot of bases. What do you, why don't you tell us a little bit about something interesting that's been on your plate lately, or maybe thinking about the roadmap for the future? Where's your head at these days?
Yeah, so when, with my background, I've worked on WordPress.com, I've worked on Pressable. I then moved to be fully dedicated as we want to grow WP Cloud. And as we look to the future of how we want to, elevate WP Cloud and the entire WordPress hosting industry further and set higher standards, we're constantly looking at different ways we can, improve site performance, speed, and reliability, some core table stakes if you want great WordPress hosting. And so with that, we're doing some cool things around like caching specifically for e-commerce. So imagine you have a WooCommerce store that's pretty busy, and right now a lot of hosts, there's a lot of requests in that space that can't be cached. And so how can we make that these usually uncacheable experiences cached all the time automatically? It's a more of a technical thing that I personally get excited about, but the fact that we can then turn that around and that can be a value add that companies, registrars that want to get into hosting can bring and differentiate themselves and improve their hosting capabilities, and that gets me excited.
I love your role because you're at the intersection of empathetic listening. You're talking to our partners, you're understanding what it is that they need, you're talking to the end customers, you understand what it is that they need, but you're also in an actionable role where you can actually influence the roadmap, make changes yourself, build new things, and bring that stuff to our partners. One of my favorite things is when I hear from a partner that they want some feature, they want something new, and Josh, you just jump in there, and I don't know, sometimes it's a longer thing, it takes weeks or days, but sometimes you're able to get something done very quickly and alter the course of that relationship, and I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's part of the fun.
Before we jump into the podcast, I have one quick question for you, Josh. You're so focused on high-tech stuff all the time. What are you doing with your free time when you're not plugged in?
Well, you can find me often. I live in southeast Tennessee, pretty rural area, and we do have a bit of old farmland. So when I'm not on the computer, you can often find me out on a tractor or maybe fixing a tractor, which I guess I spend more time doing that. So I do get out about quite a bit and just try to maintain the land a bit. We're not doing too much actual farming anymore, but I'm usually outside.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's really awesome.
Are you growing anything as well?
Oh, yeah. So that's my other main hobby. So I used to be in the professional brewing world when I took a little sabbatical from tech. And so we have a pretty hefty kind of professional brew system that a friend and I use on the regular, and we still brew a bit. Nothing is fermenting right now. Here come the spring. We do some fundraiser events and stuff where we'll brew the beer for the fundraiser. So we'll be starting that back up here in the spring.
Elise, I think we need to consider putting out a WP Cloud beer. Not only would that be an awesome swag item, but it might help get some signatures on some pages too.
Have you ever seen those like beer belts where it's like a belt and it goes across your, like kind of like Chewie and Star
No,
Wars?
but I have seen the beer
it's
helmets.
like cans. It's like cans of beer. Sign me up.
I was
I'll do
going to
it.
suggest
I'll do it.
Automatic Beer Fest at Joshua's barn.
Yeah.
We could run our own Oktoberfest this fall. That sounds like a great plan.
As a salesperson, am I the appropriate person to recommend a shotgunning competition?
I'll have to brew some lighter beer if we're going to do that.
All right, so let's jump in. Great round of intros. I wanted to make sure everyone at home understood why I wanted these folks from Automattic, these experts in the field, to come and talk to us. But now we want to jump in. So Leanne, you came and visited Rhode Island last year, and you visited with the WP Cloud team, and you gave us such a great lowdown into the registry world and helped us to understand it all so much better. From your perspective, it was invaluable, or from our perspective, it was invaluable having you there. I'm going to ask you, can you give us a play school type explanation? Actually, you're from Australia. Do you have play school there?
I think we do have play school, I think. The kids show.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Can relate.
Very cool.
Yep.
So from a play school, explain it like I'm 5. What's the difference between registries, registrars, and also what's going on with the most recent thing going on with the auctions and new TLDs that are coming up? And I know that there's something happening soon where we're going to start seeing a release of new domains, right?
Yeah, that's a big question. Okay, I think that's a good place to start because we'll no doubt use the terms registry and registrar many times in this conversation. The easiest way to think about it, I think, is, registry is, you can think about registry as being the wholesaler and the registrar as the retailer of domain names. So if you want to buy a domain, you're usually going to go to a registrar, and a registrar will sell almost always a .com. They can sell you a .blog, a .ca. You'll have options of different domains that you can buy at a registrar. A registry typically manages or does manage a single domain or a single set of domains. So Automattic, we are the registry for .blog. We manage the database of domain names, of .blog domain names, and if a registrar wants to register a .blog domain, then they need to connect to us to do that. So that's the difference between registries and registrars. In terms of what's happening, this is something with new domains. The last time that it was possible to apply for a new domain or a new TLD was 2012. So 14 years ago? Is that right? 14 years ago now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was when we got .blog. Before 2012, there was, .com, .net, what we call the legacy TLDs. There weren't as many options available. In 2012, ICANN opened it up so that anybody could apply, or any business could apply for a new GTLD. And I think we got something like 1,500 or so new GTLDs out of that round, including .blog, as I mentioned.
1,500, that's what you said?
Yeah, around that. Some of those are brand TLDs, and so they're not open TLDs that anybody can register them. There's the Canon or a big brand, and so they will be available exclusively for that brand to register domains in.
Okay.
But then there's what we call geo TLDs, so city TLDs. Often they may or may not have restrictions around having to live in that city or have some sort of connection with that city. And then there's the generics like .blog, and .art, .cloud. There's so many of them which are open. So that's what came out of that round. And for the first time since 2012, beginning in April, at the end of April, we'll be able to apply for new GTLDs. That's generic top-level domain. Yeah, so we'll see what happens, what comes out of that round. We're thinking now about what we're going to do at Automattic, as is everybody else in the industry. It's going to be a long process. So the applications open at the end of April, and then I think we probably won't see the actual, the domains that are applied for in that round go live until like towards the end of 2027. I think it's going to be a very long process.
Oh, okay. So we got a little ways to
yeah,
to
we've got a little
prepare
while.
for it.
Yeah, but if you've got an
Yeah.
idea, now is the time to act. But if you want to actually register one, you got a bit of time before that happens.
Gotcha. And in 2012, that was that the time that I remember seeing like the expansion beyond the typical TLDs that we were so used to, the .coms, the .edus and all. Like that's when we got like .pizza, .agency,
Yes.
all
Horse.
those crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the niche ones. Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
I wonder what we're going to see pop up this year. That
I know.
hasn't
What's
been
left?
used
Yeah.
or created. Yeah. Like I know when we had our meetup, I was, saying dot curse word, as a joke. But I am curious to see like what's going to pop up, because what pops up this round will, dictate a lot of the trends of what is used and marketed in the next.
Yeah.
Is it every 12 years that this happens?
It's not defined. I think
Okay.
yeah, we don't know.
Market
I don't think it
defines
was. Yeah, it wasn't intended that it was going to take 12 years for the next round to come, but that's how long it took. I think there are things that didn't exist back in 2012 that exist now that will that trends probably see domains related to Web3 and crypto and AI. I think that's a lot of what the industry expects, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, I hope we get some good surprises as well.
Awesome.
I'm looking.
Thanks for
forward
the great explanation there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to give you a chance though. Do you want to ask anything?
I do. So now that we've got registry and registrar defined, I'll ask a question about registrars to you, Jesse. So how do you think that registrars fit into the bigger perspective of preserving an open web?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the reason that, WP Cloud in particular is interested in helping registrars right now is because they're sitting on a ton of domains. And those domains have the opportunity, the customer can point that domain to anything. And frankly, it's interesting to me that I don't see this more often, but if you run, a social media page or something like that, you can buy a domain and point it at that. You don't have to constantly be pointing someone to LinkedIn/IN/ your username. You could just buy, jessiesbio.com or something like that and point it that way. Tumblr is a great example of a social media network that allows for you to buy a domain and actually have it pointed directly at your Tumblr page. So I think domains are incredibly important to the preservation and the growth of the open web. But I think at the same time, if we're not careful, more and more domains can end up being posted or pointed to closed networks. And I think as we start to see the siloing of these networks, these platforms consolidating your web presence onto these platforms, things get dangerous. And so WordPress in particular is, very good at preserving that open web and giving people ownership of their content, and they get to own their audience and their influence. And so I think it's just, it's vital that we just try to aid in the development of that growth so that more and more domains can be pointed to the open web, and we can make sure that we're preserving what we care most about on the internet. That's a great question. Cool. Let's move this round robin around. Ronald, how do you think we can better align domain sales with the WordPress experience so that buying a domain isn't transactional, but it's a first step toward publishing?
It is hard because not everybody knows what a domain is to begin with. And everybody has the idea like, oh, I want to publish something, I want to share something online. And proprietary platforms, they're very good at directing people to do exactly that. And so I think more traditionally, you would have to go to registrar, register domain, and do something with it and set it up. Quite often you would have like if you were to go to WordPress.com, you can do that all within one flow, within one transaction. In fact, you actually get a free domain with it. But it's not always very obvious. And also the terminology is not very clear for maybe 90% of the population. So I think we have some work to do. You see some platforms where it's all included and it's the same flow, but you can do so much more with domains and directing users to your piece on the web, something you want to share, an opinion or a product or your podcast, and that branding, that name that you have above the door of your shop or above your, the entrance of whatever you want to share. It's such an important part of your identity. Earlier we talked about the different TLDs, and if I said my website is ronald.com, it could be anything. But if I were to say it's a ronald.blog, it's like, it's a blog, or ronald.art. Maybe it's an artist or museum or something like that. So we've become a lot more playful with these new TLDs. And I see a really good trend that some of the newer TLDs are very popular, and they build a community by themselves, an identity, and registrars and registries start to play with that. And I really like that trend where it's going. We all know that. So, well, I'll pause there.
I think it's a great point. I think it's something that people can build into their strategies as well. When you think about a company, if they have multiple components to their web presence, if they have a brochure type website where they're talking about their brand and their values versus the actual e-commerce store where they actually sell their product versus the blog where they talk about, whatever updates are going on, things like that. We often think like it's domain /blog/store/ but there's no reason not to buy additional domains, operate them as separate properties, and then build up a network of sites that interlink with each other, create a great experience for the customer, but gives you an opportunity to differentiate yourself so that you know exactly where you are in that purchase flow. For example, you're on the .store, you're about to buy something versus the .blog where it's more of a learning opportunity. I think that provides a unique customer experience.
Yeah, Leanne referred earlier about some GeoTLDs that you have to, for example, live in a specific place and prove that. But some of the TLDs also, you'd have to share what you're doing. So a really good example is .org. You need to be a charity or non-profit and share that. And the same maybe, for example, for a .eco. And I think there are a few others like it. So to ensure that the value of those TLDs remain high, and you know that when you visit a specific domain plus the TLD, that's exactly what you can expect.
Yeah, great. Good answer, Ronald. Thank you.
I just on that a little bit, because I know the WP Cloud team are also keen to work with registries and sort of provide that flow. So, you have a specific TLD that serves a group or community, but, now we know that registry and registrar are two different things. So the registry as a wholesaler, not being able to sell domains direct to customers. And so how do you think about providing the package service or the hosting and the domain that some registries would be able to utilize?
Well, that's really interesting. Yeah. So, I think the opportunity that WP Cloud presents is that we have a way of offering essentially turnkey hosting. So if you are someone who's in the domain space and you have a book of business or you're getting into it now, maybe you're registering for a GTLD for next year, WP Cloud can, take care of the tougher parts of hosting, right? We can manage the infrastructure for you. We can manage updates. We can help provide a really superior customer experience and then let you focus on what you do best. And this is similar to the narrative that we talk with other hosting companies or other just general companies who are interested in WP Cloud, is that, you can either provide a subpar product, which no one wants, and that's not good for the WordPress ecosystem. A common theme on this podcast is that the first WordPress experience can be the last. So it's your obligation to provide a really great experience. So then the next step is invest heavily in both team members and infrastructure to create a competitive solution. which is an uphill battle and quite a struggle for new companies who are not playing in the space now. Another choice would be reselling hosting, but the problem that you have there is that you're always working with essentially a competitor, and you're often selling something that other people have defined. WP Cloud plays at an API layer that allows for any company to build their marketing packages, their business packages on top of that, so they can go to market any way they want to. So we stay out of the business of hosting. We focus on is the infrastructure and allow you to figure out how it is to best serve your customers. So if you're, looking at selling .store, for example, or some kind of e-commerce related TLD, you could, spool up WP Cloud powered e-commerce stores with pre-configured plugins, so that you can offer a straight store experience and solve for a niche solution. So there's a ton of things that we can do there. And I think that it's really powerful that WP Cloud is focused on, staying in our lane, which is, providing the best WordPress hosting with a WordPress first cloud platform, and allowing the registry or the registrar to figure out how they want to go to market on top of that. So yeah, thanks, Ronald.
I'd like to see that come to fruition and see how that sort of evolves, because the web is big and you can't be a trader to the whole world. So finding your niche, finding your community and build something specific for them, I think it's going to be really exciting to see that. I mean, a good example is our own sort of Automattic news pack, where you've repackaged some of the elements and provide a service specific for news outlets. And that seems to be working really well.
Yeah, I think solving for niche hosting is going to be a very important thing for the future. And actually, let's ping pong that, because we're talking about the value that WordPress plays in this space. Elise, why do you think hosting should be top of mind for registrars?
Yeah. So the way that I look at it when we talk about what's healthy in, the hosting industry in general, you were just touching on it, is that not every host is for everyone, which is why having more out there is important, and why, providing the ability for people to create an experience for the customers that they have, that they know, is so helpful and important. And when I think of registrars, the first thing I think of is that there's a different perspective on hosting there than there is in, the rest of the market, where the product by itself first is hosting, and maybe they resell domains, but their main product is going to be the up and to the right of hosting. And when I think about registrars, I think about, there's a very good mix of ones where you've got very specific registrars that are doing like .art's artists. The people that are typically buying those domains are likely going to need something very different and maybe more guided or more specific to what is important to them than someone who is .store. And you can't really cross paths with those two things and ignore the fact that there are specific needs for e-commerce and artists. And even if you mix the two, you have to be thoughtful about how you do that. And so I think with registrars, they have the agility to not have a lot of infrastructure that has already been put in place. But even if there is less risk for them to explore changing things and looking into, maybe a different roadmap than they had initially anticipated. And hopefully that makes sense. I wanted to ask you, Jesse, about strategy with that. And we've talked as a team about the industry as a whole and how we're helping people with open source. And I touched on that just a little bit by talking about making it easier for anyone to be a host, to get different perspectives. But for you, when you think about who we're working with and with registrars as non-traditional hosts, I'd love to hear just your thoughts about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to the same conversation we had before around empowering companies to take advantage of the things that they're selling, the way in which they're entering the market, allowing them to double down on what it is that they do best, and then giving us the opportunity to take care of the infrastructure and take care of the harder parts of hosting. I love what you said there about, and I'm going to paraphrase or summarize here, but like the idea that diversity in hosting is a good thing. The more hosts that we have out there providing a really great experience, the more likelihood that someone's going to stumble upon a WordPress experience that's going to be powerful and beneficial to them. It also helps us to be more competitive and grow our individual and respective businesses. So I think that's great. And at the same time, I think that registrars, have this tangentially related element where they're selling these domains and they're playing in this space, but they're not necessarily always providing hosting. And sometimes, like you said, it's the other way around, where a hosting company is, hosting first and they're selling domains as the point of entry. But a registrar has that point of entry. It's just that a lot of times I feel like the companies that we've talked to, they haven't gotten into hosting as much because it is a big, hairy lollipop. It's not the easiest thing in the world. And so, what it is that we can do is step in and help provide, performance and security and WordPress basically as a platform, as a service, and give them the opportunity to kind of turn that key and get things going very quickly, which actually gives us an opportunity to kind of pivot now and ask Josh, if you're talking to someone in the registrar space, maybe someone who hasn't been playing and hosting very long or at all, what do you think is the most important things that should be top of mind for them to solve for? And where do you think WP Cloud can step in and help them with that?
Yeah, so just thinking about the conversations I've had and what they are trying to solve for already is, they want to know who is managing the technical debt. How much are they going to be taking on in terms of like the hosting infrastructure to ultimately provide fast, reliable sites? Because, it's one thing. It's great for registrars to use WordPress. It's the fastest way to provide a very open experience for the open web. You can create anything. You can create experiences to where anyone can go and create beautiful sites for projects or apps, all within WordPress. So that's a great foundation there. They also get a business benefit of having stickiness. So if you are able to provide that good experience, you can keep that domain registered through you. So you have less risk of people transferring to another registrar, going to another host that may also act as a registrar. So their first thing coming into mind is like, well, we want to do that. We want to provide something that's going to get people to stay with us. But they don't necessarily always want to, have that massive investment that can go into creating a performant, reliable cloud platform. And so that's where WP Cloud really comes into play. They can focus their time and energy on, this integration of working with us, but they don't have to worry about servers. They don't have to worry about caching, the security, the uptime, and reliability. They can take what we provide in that sense for all of those items and use that in their marketing, build out packages, build out ways that, as we've said time and time again already, having these great experiences and ultimately get their customers to stay with them long term.
Joshua, can I ask you a question? Because you mentioned packages there. And so if, for example, as a registrar and you have a customer that obviously wants to, start a blog because they registered a blog, but maybe they want to start a store or a shop. And so the next step in that, in the hosting to provide the right package, but also optimize it for their use case. Because I know myself from previous careers that building a blog site and a store site really is a very different requirement. They get to know the size of files and optimization, caching, especially in e-commerce or WooCommerce store, is quite a trick. So the question really is like, do you have different packages for the same registrar? So depending on what the use case is, you have an optimized experience.
Yeah. So part of our kind of go into onboarding with some of these registrars, we really look at what their goals are. We look and see, if they are going for specific target audiences, what kind of packages do they want to target agencies and e-commerce stores. I'd say most people do want to take a little bit of a slice of e-commerce. And so we really look into, what plans And, we'll consult. Again, we set everything up to where we focus on the infrastructure and they get to handle the business, but we do get to bring our experience in this space and kind of consult them on the packaging, both in kind of go-to-market perspective, but actual technical things of like, okay, well, you want to do e-commerce. Well, now we have a big, wide open realm of opportunity there to where we can pre-package certain plugins, have things auto-configured, securely locked, secure updates for all of those. So a user can come in, can bring in, we can work with the registrar to have some AI integrations there. A user can come in, quickly spin up the design, say, yes, I want this to be a store, and they can have auto-configured, pre-installed, ready to go plugins that we'll work with some of the registrars to use vetted plugins that are known to be performant. And this user is able to come in and start a store within minutes and start listing products, connecting up, bank accounts and all that fun stuff to really get them launched as fast as possible. And at the same time, have a pretty fast site.
I think that's a great summary, Josh, because basically what we're saying here is that you can take a company who's been focused on selling domains and hasn't been focused on selling hosting, and in a matter of weeks, turn them into a full-blown hosting company that is competing with some of the highest level enterprise level hosting out there because they get to take full advantage of all the components of WP Cloud. We talk a little bit about like the opportunity for someone to build this on their own, but something simple, or not simple, but something like one specific thing that WP Cloud offers to every one of our customers is automated real-time failover. This idea that if something catastrophic were to happen to a data center, we can reroute traffic in real time and keep your site up. This is how our partners are offering 100% uptime. The idea that a registrar could ever compete in that space on their own, it would be a monumental task and a huge investment on their part. So, this is where we get into the opportunity here to play into, providing superior WordPress hosting, preserving that open web, and doing it in a way that we're empowering more and more folks to spread the wealth of a great WordPress experience.
What if my .blog goes viral? How do you handle that on the WP Cloud side?
Yeah.
You know what, Ronald? That is such a great question. And you know what? Let's open the next episode with that question, because we're at 45 minutes here almost. And I know our producer, John, is going to be, he's in the background right now pushing buttons.
Running out of tape, yes.
Get us to end this episode. So this is a great opportunity for us to take a quick break, and we'll be back with a part 2 with everybody. Thanks, everybody, for joining. Thanks for joining us on another episode of Impressive Hosting, where we uncover the core tenets of great WordPress hosting. Do you have a follow-up question for today's guest, thought or comment on anything we talked about, a future guest suggestion, a hosting horror story? What do you think makes great WordPress hosting? All your comments shape this show. Drop them on impressive.host. We also appreciate you following us on social media and subscribing to the podcast on your favorite platform. Finally, do check out our list of open source projects that need support at impressive.host. Whether it's code, community, or cache, you can make a difference. See you next time.